Madam Speaker, I sat here for a couple of days, listened to the discourse that we had so far on this, what I deem very critical point or critical juncture in the development of this country's future. This decision that potentially will set the stage for what this country will become in the next 5, 10, 15, 20, 50 years. Madam Speaker, as I went through the information that I had before me, information that I researched, I had to pondered for some time. I've been pondering on this issue, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this issue is so critical that for the past 2 days, my WhatsApp inbox has been blown up. You see everyone that's coming to the gallery. It shows the interest that the public has in the decision that we are about to make as the leaders of this country. The events from August 6th to September, when Irma passed, September 7th, and subsequently Hurricane Irma, has left our country in a serious space of despair. Despite the disaster that befalled us, you saw the true spirit of the Virgin Islands. You saw the resiliency of our people. You saw a strong people, people of pride, a people of faith, working hand in hand, foot to foot, toe to toe, rebuilding this country. We've gone to this point, Madam Speaker, not because of any act of us as government or any act of us as specific individual leaders, but because of the spirit of the people and the will of the people. That's what has gotten us to this point, that we could see the light at the end of the tunnel. We see the prospects before us. People are still aspiring to be great. We see the potential of this country to be that nation that we often speak about. That great nation. The potential that it has for greatness. Madam Speaker, as I pondered and I reflected over the past couple of weeks, months after the storm, and most recently with the decision that's before us, the decision that we have to make as a people, I reflected on similar decisions that our leaders in this very same house had to make that changed the trajectory of our country pre-Irma. Madam Speaker, I pondered on those decisions, and I pondered long and hard, and I asked myself, and put myself in the shoes of those leaders during those times of decision. Madam Speaker, we've heard about some of those decisions that were made in the debate earlier. Not just our leaders, but also people in civil society, our community leaders, persons who played a pivotal role in the growth and development of this country over the years. Madam Speaker, from the Bates Hill Agreement, which was signed by the government, the then government of the time, it was because of pressure by community leaders and civil leaders why we were able to own the property of which we can see scans. Madam Speaker, I pondered on the Social Security Board decision. Social Security is getting a lot of play in this house these days about the monies that are there. But that was a decision that came through much sacrifice, through much debate, through much struggle. A decision that was almost never made because there was no support from the government of the day. It took the strength of the then opposition to make that Social Security Board possible. And we have what we have today in terms of a fund that secures the livelihood of our people. A fund $600+ million strong that is there as the bedrock for persons when they retire. Never supported by the government. Opposition, Honorable Ralph T. O'Neill at the time, stood up and supported that Social Security deal. Madam Speaker, land ownership in this territory. One of the things we pride ourselves as Virgin Islanders is that we own the land. Now we are the majority owners of the land. It is say he who controls the lands, he controls the economy. And it wasn't not too long ago, Madam Speaker, that Virgin Islands land was fleeing the hands of Virgin Islanders at a rapid rate. And it took strong leadership to enact the Alien Landholders License, to ensure that there was checks and balance, to ensure Virgin Islanders were able to retain their property, and it has to go through a process that still serves us up to today. Madam Speaker, it is that man over my right shoulder, my late uncle Leslie Marlon, who pioneered that legislation, former representative for the 8th District, now 8th District. Madam Speaker, his leadership, like the Honorable Cecil B. Romney, who pioneered the financial services legislation through this House. What is now known as the Business Companies Act, what was then called the IBC Act. One of the most singly important pieces of legislation that has ever been passed in this honorable House that I stand today. Ushered in a new wave of economic development for this country, for its people, and a level of prosperity that we've never seen any time before that. And a level of prosperity we still enjoy even up until today. Madam Speaker, a lot of what you see at Wickham is because of that same financial services industry. It gave opportunities that transcended the public service. Opportunities that our people grabbed and took advantage of because of the ingenuity and the engineering capacity of our people to see things not as a threat, because the financial services is predominantly foreign direct investment. Madam Speaker, one thing all those leaders had in common, one thing all of them did when faced with problems, when faced with challenge, and faced with adversity, one consistent theme of all of those individuals and the ones before them: they debated, they deliberated, they argued, they fussed, they fight. But at the end of the day, they acted. They made a decision. They looked at the problem and they found solutions. Solutions that will move this country forward and move this country forward then into where we are today. Madam Speaker, we have to act. We have to, as the leaders that are elected to lead this country, we have to lead. We have to look at the problems that we face as a country and find solutions. I've listened for the past 2 days. I listened attentively. I hear a lot of problems. A lot of them we know about. A lot of them we don't know about. A lot of them probably make up. A lot of problems probably under the rug that we don't know still. But we have to figure out, as the leaders of this country, as the people elected to lead this country, how we will need to move forward and move this country and its people forward. That is our job. That is our responsibility. And we need to take that responsibility serious. Madam Speaker, this piece of legislation before us, like many of the members before us spoke, in its current form, Madam Speaker, I too have my challenges with it. I have been the amplified voice privately on the issues surrounding this legislation. I have taken it apart because I take my legislative responsibilities seriously, Madam Speaker. I have expressed numerous times my concerns and the issues that I have for it. Many of them have shared it to this evening by the members in the back bench and the Honorable Skelton in the front bench. All issues that we all share, concerns that we share in terms of the process and where we are right now with this piece of legislation. But, Madam Speaker, we have this piece of legislation because we failed in our responsibilities as legislators. We are the ones who are responsible for legislation in this country. That is our responsibility. We're not elected Minister of Health. We're not elected Minister of Education or Junior Minister for this or the other. We're elected as legislators of this country. And we allowed a piece of legislation to come before us that does not represent our will, the will of the people of this country, in our will to move forward as a people rebuilding our country. We have failed. Madam Speaker, we have an opportunity to address this issue. I do not support this legislation the way it is either. And I've made that abundantly clear in private. I've made that abundantly clear to the powers that be, the Premier and whoever else. I've made that very clear. For the past couple of days or the past 3 days, I've made that very clear as we go through this process. But we have a responsibility, we have a job as legislators. We have to ensure that we get the structure, the framework that works best for our people and for our country. A framework that does not usurp the gains that have made over the last 50 to 60 years. A framework, as Honorable Dolores Christopher said, she said it so eloquently this morning, that does not usurp the 50 years of ministerial advancement that we made as a people. We were supposed to celebrate this last year. The advancements made in the constitutional team for 2006-2007. We have that responsibility. Those men and women in in these pictures above us, they fought for us to have this autonomy, to make these decisions. That is our responsibility. Yes, we have to see what the problems are. Yes, we know what the challenges are. But we also have to come up with solutions. All the leaders before us face similar problems in this country. But they fought and they came up with solutions, workable solutions to move forward. And that is our responsibility. Yes, people might have motives. They have their motives. But we have to have ours too. Our motive is our country and is our people. We have to ensure that whatever is done in the best interest of the people of this country. We have to ensure that what opportunities derive from this country is derived for the people of this country. The BVI that you see now has either been built by BVI landowners or they've had a hand in the process. This building that we built, that we stand in, the dual carriage highway, was built by BVI landowners. All the buildings you see down in Rotown, built by BVI landowners. And BVI landowners can rebuild it. And they need to rebuild it. But we have to ensure that the language that we need in order to make sure that those things happen, it is in this document. Whatever other person's ulterior motives are, that is our job. To make sure that we have the language that we need to move forward as a people, as a country. The problems are long. The concerns, and many of them have been raised here, are ready for the evening and yesterday. It will be unproductive to continue to regurgitate them over and over and over again. That's because I come from a huge family. I have, so big I can't remember how much I have now. I have 5 sisters and 4 brothers, of which I'm the second. 5 sisters I have. I'm the second brother. The same thing votes for my extended family, my cousin and so forth, huge family. And one of the principles my grandmother, which is my honorable deputy premier's aunt, used to say to me is, when you and your family have a problem, I deal with it home. Deal with it home and fix it home. My speaker, I sit down, I listen. My speaker, but there's some issues, Madam Speaker. Even though she said that, sometimes she used to say, sometimes you don't hear, you gotta get some licks outside too. Madam Speaker, this issue of this legislature, the assembly, and its autonomy, and the dictates that are being sent to this legislature is unacceptable. I'm from Eastern, I can't help it. It's unacceptable, Madam Speaker. There's a reason why there's a separation of powers, and the member from the third constantly says this. There's the judiciary, the executive, and the legislature. I'm saying it right? Madam Speaker, the Minister for Health outlined some of these concerns. We have to stand our ground in this House, Madam Speaker. We have to present the legislation that best suits the people of this country, that best suits the needs of this country moving forward. responsibility. That is what we have been elected to do. And we have the opportunity here this evening or whenever this debate or the committee stage continues. Then let whomever has to assent decide they don't want to assent. Then we have a different fight. Then we have a different fight. Then we have a different fight that we then need to confront head on. But we have to push forward what we need for our people, what we need for our country in terms of the development. Madam Speaker, there's a talk about red lines. There's some red lines that have been placed in terms of what can or cannot have, dictates that have come forward. Madam Speaker, which we cannot accept if it's harmful to the development of our people and development of our territory. Madam Speaker, we have to set our own red lines in terms of where we are not going to budge. One of those critical components is the procurement of projects in this territory. We have to ensure at the very least, everywhere our BVI land has a capacity to do, capacity to build, they have to get the opportunity, whether they're VIP, NDP, or NEP. Once they're Virgin Islanders, they're capable, they have the capacity, they should be granted the opportunity. And that is non-negotiable for me, Madam Speaker. Because what we see around this territory has been built by us. You're telling me that we cannot rebuild it? You're telling me that we cannot expand on the intellectual capacity that we've built over the last 50 to 60 years? Member Skeleton just said it. 3 out of every 5 persons in the Virgin Islands has a college degree. Not a greater percentage. We go around the world and we represent this territory, we represent it well. And you're telling me that we cannot represent within our own territory? Represent the interests of our own people? Madam Speaker, we have the capacity, and we should ensure that whatever we decide on in this House speaks to the fact that BVI landers must, without question, be the driving force behind anything that comes out of this House as it relates to the recovery of this territory. Madam Speaker, I see an opportunity for us. OMA has given us an opportunity to reset, an opportunity to reflect on what we want our territory to look like, an opportunity to move forward a country that represents 21st, 22nd century Virgin Islands. For many years, you've heard a discussion of having a national development strategy that drives the development of this country for decades to come. Madam Chair, this moment gives us that opportunity to develop that national development strategy. National development strategy. Madam Speaker, there's some key things that we could do to propel our economic development. It cannot just be about building the infrastructure and forgetting the people in the process. We have to spend monies in areas where we could create economic opportunities that is driven by our people, where people are at the forefront of those industries. The member on my right was very eloquent in that, making that point earlier today. That is our responsibility as leaders. To ensure whatever opportunities are developed for our people. Madam Speaker, we continue to talk about the ICT infrastructure in this country. That's something that I talk about passionately, Madam Speaker, because I understand the opportunities that can be derived for us economically from that sector. As a country, we're moving along economically because of the same ICT infrastructure. Because of the foresight to build redundancies in the system that we have Virgin. Which presents significant opportunities for our people to move forward. Because now, revenues are still coming to the territory. 2 days after the storm, we were able to still continue to generate revenue. We have an opportunity now to build the right foundation technologically for our country. Singapore, prime example, was a sleepy farm town before they transformed their economy to what it is today. And it was transformed on the backs of technology and ICT. And we have to build a discipline in our country. We are the leaders. We need to set the stage with discipline. We are too indisciplined. That's the problem. We have an opportunity right now. BVI is small enough. Is properly positioned in terms of geographically to put in place the infrastructure needed to transform our economy into a digital-driven economy. Agile economy that works for the people of this country. We have to have the discipline to do it, Madam Speaker. And we need some vehicle to help us to drive that discipline. Here's the reality. The system that it is right now is marred with indiscipline. Madam Speaker, for the past 7 years since I've been in this house, I've been arguing about the issue of sewage in my community. And my colleague before me, been here 20 years about. I was in college when I heard him in here screaming about sewage and the potential for cholera. Madam Speaker, sewage is still running the streets in our community. You know why? Not because that we didn't ever borrow money to do what we have to do. Because we had the indiscipline to do and follow through on what we needed to follow through on. $8 million was taken from the money that was borrowed to get sewage done, Madam Speaker, and shifted somewhere else. And now the people of my community still have to suffer with sewage running the streets because we lack the discipline we need to do the things that we need to do. There needs to be a national development strategy, things that are beyond politics, that can be removed from the political interference. And it has to be something that is approved by the people of this country. A shared vision, a contract between us, the leaders, and the people of this country in terms of how we want to develop this country. So that these type of things cannot happen, no matter who shifts in government. There's some national things that we have to do as a people, that we have to do as a country to move us forward. So, Madam Speaker, I see an opportunity. I see an opportunity for us to develop a national development strategy for our country going forward. But we have to do the work. We have to put our hands to the plow. We have to decide what we want for our country. We have to decide what that looks like. And we are the only ones that can make those decisions. We don't control the decisions that other persons make. We only control our own decisions. And the decision that we make in this house. When this legislation leaves here, What they do is another story. Then, like I said earlier, then there is another fight that we have to fight. So whatever this plan is coming forward, Madam Speaker, that is a red line for me. It has to be something that is shared, that has a shared vision, not just of the legislative arm of this country or the executive arm of this country, but a vision that is shared in a contract that is binding with us and the people of this country for what they want their country to look like. That is our responsibility as legislator. Madam Speaker, whatever has happened to us over the past years in this House is because of whatever laws passed through this House, is we have passed it through this House. There's this discussion about privatization. Mexico, we already started privatizing all public utilities through this House already. By water has privatized the water supply in this country. That's a decision that we got for generations we'll have to live with. A contract that has burdened the people of this country, and we have done that to ourselves. We have done that to ourselves. We have placed a monopoly on the water supply of this country. We operate in a system of collective responsibility. The former administration, 2 administrations ago, and the member said he couldn't do it by himself. The cabinet made that decision to privatize the water of our country, costing the people of this country $1.6 million a month, breaking the backs of the people of this country. I just come off of up where the lowest district is, up the hill up there, we were talking about yesterday. Great Mountain. And I see about $1 million coming down the hill. Water running for days, for weeks, months. Every time this white water push water, we have to pay. We made that decision in this House. It wasn't the UK. That wasn't imperial legislation. That was a decision that we made. And we got to have to come in here and talk about privatization. We did that. The 2 administrations ago, VIP administration 2 times ago. Telecoms. We liberated the telecom sector to a point where it cannot sustain it. And then we complain about the service that we get. Those are decisions we made. You can make those decisions. Let's focus on the things that we can control. And be mindful of the communists around every corner running. We have to be mindful of those things as well. But we have to do our job. We have to focus on the things that we have control over. I'll make it clear. I do not support this bill in its current form. I made that clear privately, and I'm making it clear publicly now. But we have an opportunity to get a piece of legislation that represents what we want. It requires us to do our work. It requires us not just to look at all the problems, but for us to use the collective intellectual capacity that we have here as a body and carve out something that's in the best interest of all people and for generations to come. Because Because doing nothing cannot be an option. Cannot be an option. I drive to Eastern every day. And if I wait another month, everybody will come down with some kind of airborne disease up there. The dust plume that spreads through my community and impacts the people in my community is unacceptable. And it's not just my community. It's throughout this territory. So whatever we do, and I'm going to continue to say this, has to be to move this country forward in the best interest of the people and does not erode our autonomy as a legislative body. Yes, the red lines are being drawn, but we have to draw our own red lines. We have to make up our minds what we want. We have to be diligent. Procurement, again, is critical. We cannot allow anything to happen that circumvents our current rules, that circumvents opportunities for our people. Our people have to be at the forefront of any opportunity. And we have the power to do this. When it goes down to Governor's House or FCO, they make the decision. But we have to make our decision on what we want. We have to be more forthright as well with information. Everything has to be on the table in this discussion. Everything has to be on the table. Premier, everything has to be on the table. No exception. It's unfortunate that we're at this point. It's extremely unfortunate that we're at this point. But nonetheless, this is where we are. No amount of complaining and no amount of shoulda, coulda, woulda, as the young people, my son used to say back in the day. Go and change that. So we have to make a decision. So, Madam Speaker, I look forward to us move forward in this discussion. I look forward for us making a decision that drives the economic development of this country forward. I look forward for us to put in the right tenets in place to ensure that we have a strong foundation moving forward from the heels of this disaster. I look forward for us rolling up our sleeves, buckling down, and need to do to move this country forward. I want to make it clear, I do not support the bill that is before us. I said that in privately, I'm making it clear publicly now. But we have an opportunity to create a bill that represents our needs and represent what we need as a country moving forward. I thank you, Madam Speaker.